Namaste and greetings from Anshuman Tiwari. This is your show, Manage Better, and today is episode number 81. And I've said this earlier that I thought that I will last 10 episodes, but with your affection, support, and encouragement, we are at 81 shows. So that's fantastic for me, for you, for everybody who wants to learn how to get better, how to manage better at work and in life. And that's the show all about. But before we get deeper into the episode, I just want to do a quick check. I can see LinkedIn and YouTube both are live, so that is fantastic. Sometimes technology does fail us a little bit, usually human error on from people like me, but it seems to work. So when you can let me know, do let me know that you can see me, you can hear me, and this is working fine. The format of the show, since some people are always new to the show, format of the show is that we have a guest, fantastic guest on a specific topic. We explore that topic together, and then around mid of the show, which is around 30 minutes, 35 minutes or so, I will start inviting questions. You can, of course, post your questions live, and we will then take those questions as we go along. The method to ask a question in this kind of a show or an event is that you, depending on where you have joined from, YouTube or LinkedIn, you can put it as a comment and it will show up as a question, right? So that's the basic. Now, a little bit about the series. Actually, the whole series Manage Better started with the premise that none of us are born with all the skills that we will need in life and at work, and we have to learn everything pretty much. Some things we learn in school, college, family, home, with friends, but as we get growing or we grow in our careers, there are more skills to learn. And people who you see are successful around you have actually been learning. So there is a learner's mindset, there is a learner approach that they all have, and they keep learning. That is the approach I came with, that there are multiple skill sets or knowledge areas that are required for a professional to be successful in life and at work. Can I bring from my network across LinkedIn, can I bring people who are experts in these areas or have are ahead of us, right? So, uh, and they can share what they know. Some are book authors, some are consultants, some are trainers, some are coaches, and some are, of course, a mix of all of these. That's how I bring authors and bring my guests. And today is one such guest. So Shubhro Mitra is a guest for today, and very odd to call him a guest on this this show or event because I have known Shubhro for the longest, I think, since 2000 or so, maybe 98 or 2000, around that part. So, and we've maintained a good equation since then. I call him coach quite often, and he's guided me at various stages in my life. Three particular important instances where his direct input was very useful to shape my career. And I posted about this earlier in my LinkedIn post as well. So a little bit about Shubhro. You can, of course, I will strongly encourage you and uh, maybe request you to check his online profile on LinkedIn and follow him. But he's today a HR advisor and leadership coach and works with clients globally. Has in his last stint, he was regional head of HR for AXA, yeah, based out of Hong Kong. So several years in Hong Kong, and since then he has multiple enterprises where he acts as a consultant. Has also some philanthropist and supports underprivileged children in a with a particular, I would say, not-for-profit agency, but has been in business or around business for a long time, mostly in people-related roles. AXA was the most prominent, where he was based out of Hong Kong. Before that, which is when I got to know him, he was head of HR for ICICI Prudential. Pretty much part of the now the startup word is very popular, but ICICI Prudential was a startup at some point, and Shubhro was the head of HR at that time. Earlier stints were with what is now called Avantha, but earlier called Build, and Cadbury also. So with that, let me invite Shubhro to the stream, and Let's see if this works. Welcome, sir, and thank you for making time for this show. So, I, of course, added that I have thought of you as a coach for at various junctures in my life and career, and that's one of the reasons why I was looking forward to this event, this talk, this conversation, dialogue, perhaps more than you were. So, welcome once again. And any opening comments before we dive deeper into the questions?
Couple of them. Anshuman, one is thank you. I mean, I'm honored when I hear the word coach, and I never thought I was coaching you. I was just sharing my thoughts with you, and it worked for you. I'm very happy for it. And as a coach, the key thing is, whoever is in front of you, they take away something which makes it tick. So that's one. Second point is I'm no expert, very far from being expert, but what I am is I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, and I want to share and share and share very openly with everyone, and I enjoy that. And third is this is a very, very Indian, it's a passionate topic for me. And I think I think really it changes people's life. And I have personally embraced this quite strongly ever since I saw the book. But before that, I think I had the idea, but I think the book really put it into a very nice perspective. So that's what we would probably talk today.
Yeah, and I think talk today is the right frame as well, Shubhro, because these conversations that I build are more around. I bring some experiences and questions, and I, of course, because I'm myself in a mid-career situation, I'm able to bring those questions from a representative point of view. I know several people in the same space, and I then pose those questions. The other thing I do is that I sometimes ask people who regularly attend these events and ask them that such and such guest on such and such topic is coming, what would you ask
I
them?
like
So that's how I build some questions, and of course, some questions come from the audience. So that's how the uh, event is curated, and it seems to be working fine because lasted quite a bit. Started with the 810 in mind, and now 81. So hopefully doing well. Okay. Yeah, it's quite a few people saying morning and they seem to know you, so are in the feed. I will bring you in some of you when the time is right, a little deeper into the event. So thank you very much, Albert. And Albert seems to be from Nigeria. Thank you. Some good audience. Couple of people from Mumbai joining in and Kochi as well. So yeah, so good audience. We'll start with a little uh, odd question, Shubhro. Odd for me at least, is that some people I know, and at some stages this was my mindset as well. That why do I need a specific mindset at all? I know I have a job, I'm doing it well. Others are around me are also doing it well. Life is good. Why this fuss about having a mindset? Even before we talk about the growth mindset, why? What is a mindset? Why do we actually even need any kind of mindset? And does it matter at all? So, what would be your view on something which is a little provocative like this?
no, it's not at all provocative, Anshuman, because I think according to me that defines you. You know,
Hmm.
and to the audience, Anshuman and I agreed that he's not going to give me any questions beforehand, so he's going to surprise me with the questions because I love surprises. I love surprises, and that probably brings what I have in my mind. But what he did was half an hour back, he wrote a mail and said, you have to behave like this, you have to be this, because I'm a novice to this. So I kind of, I am a sucker for all these information. So I'm following him to the T. I hope I do well, Anshuman, on your event or show.
You
But what he
started well.
said to thank you. And what he did was, at the end, he said, my audience they are hungry for good books to read. So please keep in mind some books. And I kept some books. And when he was asking this question, Anshuman, the book I kept somewhere, I just want to look at it. It actually starts to say, you know, that I don't know if you can read it. It's not how good you are, it's about how good you want to be.
Hmm.
So you may be extremely good, but I think we all want to be better. We all want to be more. successful and happier. I think adopting this mindset, and I can talk to you a little later with a personal story, not just about mind. Yeah, it's a mindset adoption that my life has changed. Life has changed to be happier. Someone met me. I was in a wedding a few days back, and someone met me and said, Shubhro, you look 10 years younger than 10 years back. So I am 61. I thought I'm 40. So I said, well, I thought I was 30. The only time I find I'm 30, and I know what my age is when I'm playing something, my body and mind doesn't correlate, you know. So that's the only time I realize, no, no, I'm not 30. So anyway, coming back to the question, it's about how good you want to be, and adopting this kind of mindset. And I don't want to give away all the things in the first question. It actually makes you more happier, I think, more successful, more achievement oriented. uh, so if you are performing at 8, I'm sure you will outperform. But it's also a challenge that some people think that they're 8 or they're 10, there is no room for improvement. So I think that, again, Anshuman, I want to bring in one dimension, is that for people to figure out, they can't underball themselves, they cannot over, but a balance. So if you are 6, you are 6. Some people who think they are 6, who are actually 6, but they are considering themselves 9. So they have a one chance to go up to 10. But some people who think they are 6, who are actually 6, but they think they are 3, they have no chance because they think I'm dead and gone. So it's about, really, I think this thing starts, Anshuman, from doing a self-assessment and a balanced self-assessment, and that is where you can really move up. So don't be critical to yourself, but at the same time, don't be so overconfident, because then there's no scope. So I don't know whether I've answered your question, but I'm just expanding the topic a little bit.
And that was the intention, Shubhro, that the lot of people, and I do some part-time coaching, and in any case, in senior roles, as you have a large team, you end up coaching people a
Yeah.
few times, and we also need some coaching input from time to time. And this question often comes up that mindset is overrated, and we don't really need it. And from what you're sharing is that it is not overrated. It is there. It's almost like in personal branding. We have a brand, we just don't know we have a brand. So in this case, what you're saying is that we have a mindset. It is either hurting us or helping us grow. And if we are a little bit more aware of that, it actually helps. And I'll take a minute to bring in a very interesting comment from somebody you might know. So Sunil Prashar is, recently left as CEO of PMI, President and CEO of PMI, Project Management Institute, and he's thrown a little bit of a challenge. I don't agree. Only mindset defines you. Happiness, I believe, is a combination of skill set, mindset, and heart set. Really well said. I doubt Shubhra will disagree, but do you?
Not at all. I mean, Sunil, at this time in my life, and I've been struggling, for many years, to say, what's that one thing I want, if I not 10 things. And that
Hmm.
one thing, and you are pushing me to a different topic, because it expands again, was, I finally found that the only thing I want in life is happiness. However, what it hit me also was, uh, the core to happiness, apart from various other things, was health. So you've got everything else, but not the health, then it sort of really challenges you to be happy. So, there is this happiness quotient, and there is this, and the health thing. If the health, fortunately, and you work towards it to great extent, can really help you to create that happiness. But I completely agree, Sunil, that when I said mindset defines you, I just said it in a more generic term, because this is a huge topic. It is a combination of these skill sets that creates the ultimate happiness. Because people talk about, uh, at work, they talk about, I want to be successful, or I am successful, and then you get into definitions of each person. Says, how do you define success? I'm sure, Sunil, everyone has a different definition. So, the topics that you are sort of, thrown right within, the first 10, 15 minutes is Pandora's box. And I think I can count on my fingertips how many people actually can live a happiness life. It's almost like a monk happiness, because it's not about denouncing everything, but it's about you being personally happy with whatever you have achieved or have. Thank you. Thank you, Sunil.
And thanks, Sunil, for straight away coming up with a curveball. So, and so let's peel the onion a little bit, Shubhro. So we spoke a little bit about why mindset is important and what it does, and there are multiple types of mindset and so on. That's something we discussed. The the when we were planning this event, this talk conversation, we were talking about the growth mindset, and that is something that you are deeply passionate about. What is a now that I know that I need a mindset which I can anchor myself to, what is this growth mindset? Can you peel the onion a little bit in layman terms a little bit for us?
Yeah, so Anshuman, as you know, that growth mindset really became quite talked about when Carol Dweck first, published her book
Mm.
after a lot of research, and I kind of pulled this book out for you. I guess most of you have seen this book, read it, heard about it, but even if you don't have the book or you don't have time to read the book, I would just suggest, and we're going to talk more about it, going through one piece in the slide, and in a few moments I'll ask and request Anshuman if he can show it on the big screen, not to keep it on the screen for very long, but just to give you a perspective, and I'm going to run through some of those aspects. So Anshuman, if you can
Sure.
bring that up on the screen.
So now is the moment of reckoning, Shubhro. Yeah, each time we have to use this, bring up a file. So share screen, looks like it will work. So it did work.
Fantastic. So, I mean, I'm not going to keep this too long on your on the screen,
Screen.
but just to so that you can understand, and I'm going to talk more about it. There is, and this is quite made black and white. It's not as black and white as this what you're seeing, because there are grays in between. But if you look at it on the extremes two side, one the fixed mindset, and the other one is the growth mindset. That, and also the book I think is provocative in a way, because the she talks about that fixed mindset is static, but intelligence is, sorry, static, and in a growth mindset intelligence can be developed, because there are lots
Hmm.
of talks about that intelligence, we are born with it and we stay with it, you know and she kind of challenges this. I completely agree with it, because I think I've grown my intelligence over the years. uh, and if you really look at it at the bottom hand, what a fixed mindset, and I'll talk about what is fixed mindset, but what it defines at the end of the day, it sort of creates a more deterministic view or creates underachievement amongst people. Whereas in the other side, it's an empowered view. You're empowering yourself and you're completely empowering the world, and hence the achievement is very high. So, in a nutshell, I can just say that this is how it happens. So, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, whatever your words, you can slip into the fixed mindset. We do slip in. We are human beings. But if you see this kind of a frame, and Anshuman, I don't know, we can share this, because this is a very well shared
Hmm.
slide. Of course, I created the slide, but it's very well known. It sort of gives you the perspective that how do you move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset if you're conscious about it. And there are certain things that we can talk. So Anshuman, we can take it off for now,
Sure.
and we'll come back to this again. Uh, and if anyone sort of raises their hand and says, Anshuman, can you please share? Please do that to Anshuman. He can bring it back if it's so urgent. But Anshuman, do you want me to go through this whole aspects of it?
I think a little bit will be useful,
Okay.
Shubhro, and hearing from you with your experience, and you have used this, and this is not a slide for you. This is, you have said this earlier.
Yeah.
This is how you think and how
Yeah.
you've evolved. So we would like to know that that part of it, how you think about this, because the slide can always be shared. Anybody can read the slide,
Sure.
but they may not import the meaning that you provide to it. So a little bit on that, and then we move to the next.
Sure. So I'm going to do it quickly, Anshuman, though I
Sure.
might would have taken a couple of hours to talk about it with each one of them specifically. But due to time, I'm going to move very quickly. So, if you really look at, if you've looked at the slide, sorry, and
Mm,
so let me take the first one. When a challenge, and there are two individuals, individual A and individual B. A is a fixed mindset guy, and B is a growth mindset guy. So when a person is thrown a challenge, how does he respond? How or he or she respond? So the fixed mindset guy tries to avoid it, runs away from a challenge. But a growth mindset guy is loves it. He embraces or she embraces the challenge and loves to challenge himself or herself to be able to deal with that situation. So that's the stark reality. Of course, there are, as I said, there are gray areas and gray people in between. They're not avoiding, but they're not also embracing it. The idea is, how do I really enjoy a challenge? The moment the challenge comes, I rush towards it and I say, yes, I love it and I'm going to deal with it. And if you deal with that, I've seen personally, um, it just makes the challenge much more smaller than what it is. But for a fixed mindset, it makes it huge, and he or she will be burdened by the challenge and almost kind of get uh, pushed down on this one. The second one, when you are faced with an obstacle, how does a fixed mindset deal with it? Very easy. Gives up. It's too big, or I can't do it. I mean, he or she immediately imagines that it's too big an obstacle, it's beyond me, I can't handle it. Whereas the growth mindset person persists with the challenge, with the obstacle, and he or she will find ways and ways and ways, to dig a tunnel below it, or go on the side, or try and find some way to go on the top. But he or she ultimately, on most occasions, succeeds to overcome that obstacle. The third one is a very interesting one, and I have debated this a lot of time with a lot of people. How do you view effort? Because when I say effort, effort may or may not bring the final achievement. And a lot of say, oh, you've made such an effort, but it didn't succeed. And obviously, the fixed mindset guy, thinks that it's a waste. It's a waste, and why should I have done it? But the person who's wearing the hat and the head or the brand of the growth mindset will take this as, it's a huge experience for me to master even another aspects. So it's not a waste. Yes, I have not able to finally achieve that, but I have mastered a topic. I've learned a lot, and you know what? In a new experience, in a new situation, this all these 10 things will help me. The fourth one is probably very oft discussed: feedback. So how do you receive a feedback? And there are various kinds of reactions to that. We've of course heard this whole thing that feedback is a gift, and but how easy is it to accept or receive a gift which doesn't argue well with you? It's quite hurting. I have personally achieved more when I received the most critical feedback. It's hurt me immensely, but I always said, no pain, no gain. you know so when it's pained me, I think I made the maximum leap. I want to introduce one more word, and we can talk about it later. We have bounced, you know bounced back. I actually experienced not bouncing back, I've bounced forward. So there's a difference between bouncing back and bouncing forward, which means you take a double promotion kind of a thing to that. So the whole aspect of a fixed mindset guy is to ignore. Anshuman is always critical about me. He doesn't know me, and nah, 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 nah. But the growth mindset guy accepts it, because again, this is a huge topic. Would you take perception as truth? And most people say no. Perception is perception. Truth is truth. But I would say, for that person, perception is reality, is the truth. Until unless you're able to change the perception of that person, and you have to work towards that. It's tough, and you have to figure out how many tough you know people you're going to take on to change that perception. And I can talk on another day in terms of how do you change the perception of a larger audience. But it's one of the key topics about changing perceptions. But the growth mindset takes the feedback and learns from that feedback. The last one is about how do you view others' success? Do you see that as a threat or inspiration? Obviously, the fixed mindset person says it's a threat. He or she feels threatened by that because Anshuman is growing so well, I'm not growing. And you know what? He's got Shubhro who's helping him. I don't have a Shubhro. He's got a godfather who's pulled him up. I don't have a godfather. Hundreds of ways the person will, because it's a threat for that person. Whereas for the growth mindset, it's an inspiration. I get inspired by what he's doing. Can I learn from him? Can I do something? And not only Anshuman, but 10 other people I get inspired from. Now, all these things you will start to realize if you consciously follow it and you're able to push yourself to the other side of the growth mindset. That is where achievement comes. And, to Sunil's point, in fact, I even achieved happiness because any achievement brought that part of happiness that you were trying to achieve.
Yeah, and like you said, that achievement and the mental aspect of it will feed the happiness that
Absolutely.
you are aspiring for. Uh, as you were talking, Shubhro, I did recall, and I have absolute joy in sharing that. It was one of your comments which was originally hurtful for me, which actually changed my career as well. And this was when I was thinking of what should I do for my career to make it a little bit more impactful. I had those aspirations and ambition, but I didn't know what to do with it, and I was probably very happy in the place I was, but the dreams and aspirations were of some other place. And your brutal analysis told me that unless I start walking or doing something about it, that's not going to happen. And that's exactly what mindset is. You shifted, or you help. I won't say anybody else can shift anybody's mindset. We have that shift internally.
Yeah.
But what you said shifted the mindset, and that's the power of these probing questions. And like you said, sometimes hurtful comments, not with the intention of hurt, but with the intention of growth.
Anshuman,
Okay,
I want to just add one thing
sure.
that one of
Sure.
my mentors said that, and I said, what I want to say to this person is very, very challenging and it might hurt that person. So he or she said, are you happy with anything that you do or say or have, there's a consequence to it. Are you happy to accept that consequence? I said, I don't mind if that helps eventually that person.
Hmm.
Then he said, just put your hand on your heart, say it with love and care. you know it might hurt the person, but you know what, after a couple of years, 1 year, 1 month, whatever, person will come and thank you. And I must say 80-90% of the people have done that, but the first few months maybe they thought I was the worst guy.
Anybody who will take action on that comment and then actually
Yeah.
get better will always be grateful. And some may not be able to tell you, but that if they have taken action, they have actually done what you expected um, them, and that is true for any coach. I mean, that's
Yeah.
okay. So we are getting some questions as well, and I think
Yeah, you
even
can pick
though
it up.
so I think let's do that. You said openly that you would love a challenge, so, or love a
So
surprise. So
you're making sure that all the challenges questions are there.
I have not paid anybody to ask this question, but Kenneth, he's a regular these days on my talks. And what role, in your opinion, does self-compassion play in building a growth mindset, if at all? I think so. He's anchoring his question around self-compassion. Anything on this?
I mean, again, sometimes words are quite misleading. What does self-compassion mean? If I throw this self-compassion to 10 people, they might have 10 different takes. So, Kenneth, I'm going to take it from my perspective, as I understand self-compassion, and answer that. But I'm very happy to answer one-to-one whenever. Um, so, according to me, the way I take it out, yes, self-compassion is critical in anything and everything as far as I'm concerned. You know, we have to be compassionate to ourselves. you know we have to love ourselves. If we don't love ourselves, I think the story ends there. So according to me, love yourself, enjoy, but everything. one thing I've realized in life is everything is a balance. Don't love yourself so much that you forget about what people are saying and what you are, and don't hate yourself so much that you kind of kill yourself. So, and that is the balance, I think. So self compassion to me is loving yourself, giving the due credit, everything. And when you're building this growth mindset or whatever mindset you want to build, uh, and according to me, self compassion also deals with self realization, self understanding, and your capability and other things. So for me, you said it probably, Kenneth, that it's very critical as far as I'm concerned, and that's the definition I took away from your word.
Makes total sense. We'll take one comment. This is not so much a question, but Albert from, I think, Nigeria is sharing that mindset is what provokes the consciousness for a shift. Yes, we spoke about this, and I shared my example as well, Albert, that uh, it does provoke and it does assist also. So
Yeah.
only provocation is not enough. You eventually have to do something about it as well. So thank you for the comment, Albert. The so we'll move to some just to peel the onion a little further, Shubhro, and you shared about Carol's book as well, and that's a book I recommend quite a lot. In fact, in the top 3 books I recommended last year for my audience on LinkedIn, this was there. So it it is a path-breaking book in many ways. And goes even further than Martin Seligman's work, which she actually built upon. But just getting a little deeper. So briefly, I think I recall twice you mentioned that we can assess mindset and it can propel us and that kind of stuff. And I'm intrigued as to, can we assess our own growth mindset or somebody else's growth mindset, and should we at all? Will it help? If it does, how do we go about assessing a mindset? And I'm intrigued quite a bit. How would one assess mindset? Questionnaire, interview, discussion, what would it
Anshuman, I said it more in a passing to you. But having said that, yes, I got excited because I started feeling that we could assess, not measure,
be?
people to some extent. And a lot of people say a lot of things about assessment, and it's probably the biggest challenge we all have. How do you assess a person? Whether it's an interview, whether it's a potential assessment. So we do everything from assessment center approach to interviews to uh, you know test and psychometric test and thousands of things. And every organization follows different psychometric tests, different approaches. So it's always a huge challenging topic. Which one works better? You know. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a question whatever you think makes sense to you and how it happens. Now, let me share with you the way we've used it, and I have used it. Um, Actually, suppose I'm taking you as the guinea pig today. So we have
Sure.
to, and an organization is Anshuman is sitting there, and the core group. When I say core group is, let's say Anshuman is a second, third level employee of the organization, and the core group is all the exco with the CEO, and they're assessing next level or whatever, and Anshuman happens to be there. Now, I'm not suggesting, and please don't misunderstand me. I'm not suggesting that it's a test. It works well. It's 100%. Nothing is 100%, but you get a drift of it. And what we did was to really, and of course, you have to understand and know the person quite well. Now, this
Hmm.
forced the entire exco to know not their people, but the entire organization people, at least to one or two level they're talking about, which means there were two challenges, and I'm digressing a bit, that I, as sales head, I have to understand a finance guy, I have to understand a marketing guy, I have to understand various other function guys at the next level. And also, it challenged the head of that function to also, quote unquote, showcase their people and talent. So they have to find ways by which they are put in front of other people who don't normally come in contact with them on a day-to-day basis. So that was really powerful. So which means now we are all armed to have some comment, some knowledge of how the person works. Now, Here, as you know, it's all behavior led, and assessment is mainly behavior led. And we talk
Hmm.
about how he behaves, how she behaves, how she is, and we talk about that. Your behavior defines your future behaviors, because that's the way you are wired, and that's the way you keep doing it. So if you're coming late every day to office, what is the chance that you'll come on time tomorrow? You know, because that's the behavior pattern. So something like that. So when you put a guy there and say, "Hey, let's look at Anshuman," and said, when he's faced with challenge, does he run away, or he's the guy who kind of freaks out and embraces that? And let's debate that. So I say, no, no, he embraces. Someone says, no, he tries to avoid. So you try to come to a common point and say that, okay, give us some examples when you saw him last. And many people will have examples there, but other people will say, no, I think he avoids, but I can't give an example. So is that valid? Because if you cannot showcase with actual point and data points, it's a perception. It's a good
Hmm.
perception, but the fact is you have to back it up with some data, some behavior that Anshuman has demonstrated or not demonstrated. So like that, we went a bit one by one in terms of obstacles. How does he handle them? Does he give up, persist? How does he see as effort? Is he using it to master himself, or yeah, gives up and says it's a waste of time? It's just an attitude. And Anshuman, in ICS Approve, you talked about that, and it's very strange. I coined this, but I never put it in trademark, that we hire for attitude and train for skills. After many
Hmm.
years, I heard the same exact ditto same from Disney World, but
Hmm.
they coined it much after we had coined it.
I remember
So
that. I think, yeah.
yeah. So basically you're talking about attitude defines, and these are all attitudinal things. How you behave when you receive this kind of thing, or when you receive a feedback. I mean, I have experience, and I have no problem in sharing with your audience that every time I've spoken to Anshuman, he's been a mute. He's just absorbing, and that's the best way to take feedback. The second thing that you need to do, and Anshuman did that, he never challenged me. What he did was actually ask me some clarificatory questions. So when you're taking feedback, these are two things you have to do: listen, ask, but ask clarificatory question. Not why do you think that, Shubhro? When did you see me? How did you do it? Yeah, when do you see? You can say, can you share a couple of examples that made you feel that I was doing that? But if you start challenging the feedbacker, uh, then he or she will stop the gift. So don't stop this wonderful gift. But also be very careful of people who are trying to consciously damage you. And there are some people, unfortunately. Maybe 1%, 5%, I don't know.
And
You wanted to say something?
they'll always be there, such people,
Yeah,
Shubhro, because and they are there in our personal life as well and professional
yeah,
life as well. So I think we can't be defining how we live our life for those 1% people,
yeah,
or whatever number of people, because unless of course we are in a prison cell or something, we are likely to be surrounded by 99% positive people.
yeah,
so,
yeah,
so, uh, and I just wanted to elaborate also on what you said. And one of the reasons I of course respect your feedback, but also because you are giving feedback from a position of perception that you have formed, and it is not a loose perception, right? So
yeah,
you've already formed. So it is now my job to accept that and see if I can do something about it. If it hurts me, if I have to do something about it, then find out what I can do about it. And that is something I advise to everybody, that if somebody is sharing feedback, he or she has already formed that perception. So by challenging that, you are actually
yeah,
not going to change it, because it's already,
absolutely,
you can only change it with your action and subsequent actions, not,
absolutely.
you can't change the previous actions. So that's something I thought I'll add since you
Yeah,
brought up the topic.
yes, yeah,
Sunil has recommended a fantastic book, I think, from Dan
yes,
Cable. Dan Cable is also the author of The Culture Code, which is also another fantastic book. So thanks, Sunil. Uh, those who are interested in books can refer to the comments in the on LinkedIn, and we'll be able to find
yeah.
those.
Yeah,
One,
Anshuman, I want to just close that last point. That if you look at all these things, including how people take success and other things, and is it a threat or inspiration? But at the end of the day, it correlates with how well that person is doing in the organization or how not. So all
Hmm.
underperformers, as we thought, were towards the fixed
Hmm.
mindset. So it was very
Hmm.
apparent. It was not, rocket science for us. We could have started the other way around. But what we did was to figure out why someone is doing this or that. So rather than saying okay, no good, good, we said okay, let's figure out. Yeah, we can maybe help that person. Does he have the ability to shift? And that helped us to shift a couple of people, not many.
And it's also an investment,
Yes,
because if senior leaders are investing time in upcoming senior leaders by
yeah,
having this discussion, they are actually strengthening the future of the organization. So I'm glad you see it that way. Vikas Dhal is asking a question about any advice on how we deal with setbacks in life? Of course, professional setbacks and how a growth might. He's put a subsequent question, so I will bring that up as well. We may have a growth mindset, but some events pull us back.
absolutely.
So he's mentioning that. Anything to help Vikas?
Yeah, just two quick ones. One is I remember a very senior man saying to me when I was quite young, and I was sharing that this guy is failing every day. I mean, I was in HR, so I was going and saying, can we help him? He said, look, just tell this guy to cycle harder. When you receive a setback, you tend to slow down and eventually stop cycling, and you fall. So my lesson from there, and I did that every time I had a setback. I, of course, analyzed why, what can I do to improve and not get into that mold next time. But I cycled harder. I worked harder, more smarter, of
Mm.
course. And because the quicker you cycle, you reach the destination faster. So that's a very, I mean, of course, this is again a very, very large topic because you picked up. But I'll just give you one simple statement which helped me personally.
Sure. Since we are taking questions, let me take one more from, I don't know why the name is not showing, Shubhro, but this is, I checked, it is Anil Karamchandani. Anil is a author and has written a book around office related stuff. So question is more around, you can read the question maybe.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, yeah, the LinkedIn user, as we can say, because the username is LinkedIn user,
Anil,
whoever you,
I know it is,
uh,
I know Anil, Anil
Anil,
Karamchandani.
okay,
So
okay. So
yeah.
Anil, absolutely. I mean, just yesterday we were talking about resources, and I was saying to my cousin, resources are limited. You have to figure out which one are important. I've always used Anil the 80-20 rule or 20-80 rule. Focus on 20%, which has got 80% impact. Simple. And that other 80%, yeah, has a 20% impact. So if you can achieve that 80%, and then I can reach the other ones to as many to reach higher than 80. But 20-80, 20 focus, get 80% impact. You're done or almost done.
Cool. Okay. So we looked at the assessment part, Shubhro, and that kind of also pushes me into asking a question around another kind of mindset that is quite famous is victim versus victor mindset. So
Yeah.
I I have been called both in multiple in varying situations. Once a victim mindset and quite often the victor mindset. But
Yeah.
I know both situations. And as always, I didn't challenge too much. I wanted to study, understand, and come out of it. But is growth and fixed mindset similar to victim and victor, or these are two different body of knowledge, or any views on that?
I mean, all are, I would say, interlinked, but I think the growth mindset just goes and expands it a little bit more. As I mean, a fixed mindset guy definitely will have a victim mindset because
Hmm.
you're seeing yourself. Life is unfair, whereas the victim mindset acknowledges life is unfair to everyone. He or she is in control of the life, welcomes challenges, knowing that they can overcome with hard work, and that's exactly what we're talking about.
Hmm.
So if you have the victor mindset, it leads to confidence and success finally. So it has got a lot of things that we talked about today in the on this event, and it has a lot of correlation towards that. Absolutely. But I personally think that the growth mindset and the fixed mindset has got gone beyond just the victor. and the victim mindset. But it's again a pet topic. I can smell from far who has the victim mindset, because he or she immediately has a reason, excuse for not doing, or succeed, not enjoying that part.
Yeah, I mean, the typical ones, of course, Shubhro, we all know is that, the victim mindset tends to blame everybody other
Yeah,
than themselves for
exactly.
every situation, right? So you can't do
Everything.
that all the time, always, right? Of course,
Yeah.
there are some situations where maybe others are to blame, but the choice is still ours what to do with it. So, half
I
an
mean,
hour you can spend, one
yeah,
hour, then what?
I mean,
Sorry.
there will be others who would be, have done or not done something. But the fact
Mm,
is, that's it. You know, Again, I'm going to give you another interesting statement that
sure.
someone said to me. He said, uh, I mean, you can change yourself, but you cannot change the world. You know, the
Mm,
world and the people are what they are. But how do you deal with that? How do you know, bring yourself around that and help yourself is what it works. So don't keep blaming, because they're not going to change. They are what they are. But you can approach it in a different way. And today we don't have time, but I can share a very, very, very powerful example of myself where I was the victim, and till someone told me this, and it took me 3 months to shift from that mindset.
you want to
And that
share
was
something?
it's a big, big thing. So okay, a very quick summary, and I'm looking at time. Um, where for whatever reasons this and I was quite senior at that time, I was rated for the first time in my life below you know what is called 2
Mm,
on 5.
mm,
It was it was the worst few months. I cried. I was humiliated. I felt humiliated, and I knew why he was doing that to me, because he was very insecure of me and other things. Anyway, that's what I was crying and crying and crying about it. And I said, how do I change? And I went and asked for people help. Can you change? And everybody said, Shubhro, we know you. And unfortunately, I can't take their names because all of them are sitting as CEOs in some big organization. So three of them told me, who were the ex-com. I was one below the level. And he said, Shubhro, we know exactly what is happening, but we can't help you. That's your boss saying that. So what do I do? And then this gentleman said, Shubhro, you can change the world, but you cannot change. Sorry, you can change yourself, but not the world. And that's exactly what I did, once I understood it. So I said, okay. And what I was doing, and I'm going to show it, he was the boss here, and I was hitting him hard. And the harder I was hitting him, he's the strong guy. I was propelling myself backwards. So then
mm,
I didn't hit him. I went below, tried below. I went on top. I went on the side. I tried all kind of, strategies. And eventually, next mid-year, he had to give me a 4 on 5. He had to. And that's the change I made within 3 months. But 3 months, I was victim.
mm. So if somebody was looking for a real life example of what a growth mindset is, there you have. And I'm glad, Shubhro, we actually went into this story because in some ways this happens to everybody. In
Very well.
I would I would say that anybody who's reached a level, a senior level in an organization, in any organization across the world, would definitely have had these experiences. If
Yeah.
they haven't, then they are either lying or they they are not that senior at all. No, so this does happen, and it is what, like you said, it is what we do with it that matters. And
Yes.
uh, I am just bringing up what Kenneth has shared. So this is one of my favorite
Yeah.
quotes. There is a longer quote as well from Viktor Frankl, which is, but this defines it very well. The last of human freedom, the ability to choose one's
Yeah.
attitude in a given circumstances. This is absolutely true. So thanks, Kenneth. Okay. I don't want this to end, but we are coming towards the end. So I will ask one couple of more questions, Shubhro. One is, I know you shared your example, but I want to make it the response part of it. I want to make it a little real for my audience so that, and this show is also recorded and available for people later on, so people will watch it later on as well. Uh, how can we adopt a growth mindset in our daily, weekly, monthly lives, right? So we don't have to have a setback to always have a growth
Yeah.
mindset. That would be like, waiting for an accident to start going to the gym. May not always be desirable. But what can we do in our daily, weekly, monthly lives? Because for me, it is a marathon concept, and I use the
Yeah,
word
yeah,
marathon concept
absolutely.
for a longer run concept, right? But there must be something that we can do daily, weekly, monthly.
Absolutely. I mean, Kenneth said it all in his
Hmm.
quote that he shared. Just wear the attitude that will achieve what you want to achieve. And that attitude, there's a slide. I don't know if you want to bring it back again, but
Sure.
as Anshuman struggles to bring it back, I'm going to share, I will start talking about it. Always, at least I have succeeded to try and move towards the other side, but just keeping this in front of me. And whenever a challenge comes, the first thing was, am I avoiding? Am I embracing? Am I embracing it with full arms, or like, okay, okay, okay? And it became so much part that I started saying, I love challenge. Without challenge, I'll die. So every moment I want a challenge, and it's exciting. Um, the other one is about obstacle. When the obstacle comes, I mean, I've had many, many life stories where initially I used to see this as a big mountain and I would almost like, you know, but the fact is, the moment I started having a happier experience around it, the obstacle became smaller for me. Believe you me, it was easier to handle because you're going with a smile, not with a uh, effort or feedback. Feedback, of course, I think I was quite good, but it was a question of how do you become better, you know. And sometimes I had the challenge to stop myself asking, a question which I should have not asked. So I used to do that, but I then started saying just to listen, shut your mouth, and when you want to open, it's a clarificatory question, nothing else. Just write it down, and then tackle it. And I've taken every feedback serious, every feedback. And two or three key feedbacks of, like you, Anshuman, you said, changed my life. And
Mm.
success, it's probably tough. If I see someone succeeding, which I wanted to be there, I said, okay, what do I learn from this guy? Rather than saying, he's got a godfather. Okay, he's got a godfather. So can you create a godfather? Yes, create it. If you can't, shut up. You know. So I've constantly talked to myself about these things. Don't crib. I mean, do it rather than cribbing. So, in my opinion, if you just look at these things, and always, there's another topic which is again a very big topic, and that is about positive thinking.
Yeah.
If you look at everything positive, because anything that is in front of you, you can look at it in a negative sense, you can look at a positive sense. The moment you take it positive, the whole world view changes for you. It's wearing a lens. Do you wear a transparent lens or you wear a colored lens? Red, blue, green. The moment you put the red, it look like red. Blue will look blue. So if you have an uncolored lens, every aspect that you're seeing, it makes a very positive impact. And I have consciously realized that when I started following this many years back, there were times that I was looking at positivity rather than negative. There was consciously or subconsciously, I was just not looking. And again, I can tell a story, but I don't think today is the time to talk about the story. But it was like, the other guy said, why didn't you think about it? I said, you know, and this was a guy called Jasprit. I said, Jasprit, just didn't come in my mind that I had, because मेरा mind has a setup, the mind has got set up towards that.
Mm.
So there are lots of things. And lastly, I would say, we tend to become a knower, and you talked about learner. It's about
Yeah.
creating that learner, mindset. It's about learning, and not know. I know it. I'll tell you, learning stops.
Learning stops, and in whatever experience I have, and I've seen it around me as well, and I've been in slightly senior positions for some time, Shubhro, that not only learning stops, we start decaying actually. So
Absolutely,
our thought process, and which is true for anything, which is, if it doesn't grow, it decays. So
absolutely,
over a period of time, so that decay is quite obvious around us. We don't grow, we are actually going back. We're not
absolutely.
staying where we are. So somebody has mentioned Grit by, I think, Angela Duckworth as
Yeah,
well as a book. So that, yes, you are right. Uh, Grit is something that builds on this book, but the topics are slightly different. But Grit is about how do you go about it once you've decided. So good suggestion. Grit is by Angela Duckworth. Fantastic book again. Again, part of my top three last year.
So I had a
Um,
book called Resilience.
ah, uh, which is
So no, no,
very
but
very
it is these things, as I said, it's correlated. You know, if you
yeah,
don't have the grit, resilience, and resilience not just in the mind but body, it
body.
helps tremendously in these things.
Cool. We have one question, and since it is coming from a surname that I can't ignore, I will. So Abhijit is listening to this with his heart, this wonderful conversation. The question is: we are all encouraged choosing like-minded people in life. Do you think that to develop a growth mindset, one also needs to mix with people with opposite mindset or different mindset? Maybe he wanted to ask your comments.
So, Abhijit, um, I can say that he's no relative, but we'll find out we are lost brothers or someone, or nephew, because I'm probably much older to him. Um, I would say a interesting one, in terms of people to mix. So I'm going to tell a story when I was in class 11. There
Hmm.
was this classmate. It'll say it in a different way.
Sure.
And he was sorry. I'm in a public forum. I'm saying this, that he was into smoking, drinking at class 11, and something more. and and he invited me to a party in his house, and I asked my mother, should I go? And she said,
Hmm.
yes, yes. This is the world. But going there doesn't mean you have to embrace what they are doing.
Hmm.
So Abhijit, I'm saying in a different way, yes, this is a world. Yes, there are people in the world. You cannot choose only that, but yeah, you can choose more time with, as they say, birds of the same feather flock together. And these feathers, these birds are more powerful or successful than the others, but the world belongs to every one of us. So we have to be there. And you know what, Abhijit, if you are powerful, you can hopefully change their mindsets. So you can actually help them and also imbibe what not to do.
There you go, Abhijit. You not only got your response, but you got a story as well. So, okay. One last one. This is since you are also, I mean, your entire career is around HR. So, again, for some reason, the name is not appearing, but I suspect this is Rajkumar Bansal, but I will anyway check. Uh, how does one react to pressure? You gave an example of taking feedback from peers. Just a thought, the Hogan Development Survey also highlight the same. The dark side of personality. How does one react to pressure? Anything quickly on this while I also check, reconfirm who this question
Yeah.
is from.
So if it is Raj, I'll address you as Raj as for the time being. So I think the pressure is going to be everywhere. So I found personally that, and I'm going to go back to Sunil's first point about happiness. If you're coming with a happy mind, what is called a 9 pressure out of 10 will automatically drop to 6 or 7 out of 5. So first of all, just go with an open mind, open, happy, relaxed, and respond. It's because pressure is also a challenge, that you embrace it. The second thing, once you've done that, you're demystified, the 9 to 6 already reduced. Now the way I would do is as follows: can you do something about it? You cannot do something about it. The pressure is, I've got my wedding, my sister's wedding, and it's out there open, and suddenly it starts raining, and you're not done a backup. So can you change the thing? No. But what you could have done is A, B, C, D. Think about, think ahead, think plan, fallback plan. So what you can do something, make an action with a plan, execute it. What you cannot do, delete. Anshuman, you're on mute. Anshuman, you're on mute.
Sorry, something had to go wrong, right? I had almost an hour of no glitches. So just to make up for that, what I was saying is that the question came from Anil, who had earlier also asked a question.
So
I
Anil,
double checked. Yeah, so sorry, Anil, I mistook you as Raj. Uh, but we are almost at
but
the end of
but but
the.
uh, but Anil is rajing the question. Raj kar raha in Hindi.
Uh, so, would you like to wrap up with some closing comments, Shubhro, so that we can use the last 1 minute that we have?
my closing comment is to touch with our friend first one, Anil. I think it's a question of being happy, you know, and
Hmm.
everything else falls in place. But because of lack of time, I would just say that the last thing I would say is that stay humble, you know, in all these things, in your success, in your grade, everything, just stay on ground, feet on ground, stay humble, be aware of what is happening to your body, be aware of your mind. And if you want to embrace this, just be conscious and follow that. I can expand, but Anshuman, for time, I would just say it in the short words.
No, that also gives me opportunity to invite you again at some point in the series.
Thank you. It's like the Kapil Sharma show. He didn't ask that question. Are you happy to be on my show? I said, yeah, I'm happy. But now I'm more happier because he might invite me again.
My pleasure whenever that happens, Shubhro. And the I'm so glad that we could have this conversation. Uh, and Sunil Parashar is, mentioning, is sharing his gratitude. Thanks a lot, Sunil. Thanks for staying. We are also ending the talk right now.
Thank you,
So,
Sunil.
yeah, once again, to the audience, to Shubhro, thank you very much. These talks are brought with a purpose that we can share somebody's knowledge, experience, wisdom, and take it to a larger audience. And some years ago, Shubhro, I did realize that over the years, I had built a network unknowingly, or not realizing that probably life was giving me a purpose to take people who had this knowledge to a larger audience who maybe did not have that access. So I
Yeah.
became that bridge, and I'm so glad that that bridge is now continuing to flourish, with blessings and support of everybody. One each talk I try and end with the description of the next one. So next one is, today we spoke about mental fitness, and you did speak about a lot of importance of the physical part of it. So next week I'm getting a Instagram fitness influencer, Diksha Chhabra, has been on every TV channel that we know of. Um, you know 500,000 followers and all those kind of things, and she will bring in the physical fitness aspect of how we can expand and not only our careers but also in a healthy way. So to everybody who is interested in the physical fitness side of it, next week same time we will dwell deeper into that. So see you there. With that, I will end the show. Thank you very much, Shubhro, and we will
Thank
see you
you.
again. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. All the best.